Notice of that on your screen. We can get going. Just make sure it's all working here. Okay. Looks good. Okay, looks like we can get started. Okay, well, let's get on the record. This is docket 137 CE 205. It's the application of American Transmission Company for a CPCN related to its project in Plymouth and the towns of Lyndon and Mitchell. My name is Michael Newmark, the Administrative Law Judge with the PSC. We have commission staff, the applicant, and a number of people attending here. I'm assuming we have interveners who've applied, as well as the representatives, as well as probably the membership of quite a few people here joining us. So I appreciate everyone for taking the time to participate. And we usually start off by getting appearances from the parties. So we'll start off. I do have my service list here. I could put that on the screen share. And we usually go through the list alphabetical order as it is. So who do we have here appearing for American Transmission Company?
Good afternoon, Your Honor. This is David Zappa with Hush Blackwell, on behalf of American Transmission Company, and with me is John Sagoni.
All right, great. So just while this is on the screen share, you probably haven't seen this list before, but if you wouldn't mind just checking your contact information on the list and letting me know if we got that accurate. I think I got Zappo spelled right this time.
Yes, yeah, it looks accurate.
I apologize for all those years where I typed it wrong. Okay, so that looks okay. So let's move on to neighbors for neighbors. Who do we have representing that group today? You're muted, Attorney Jablonski. Okay, there you go.
All right, sorry. This is Frank Jablonski, Progressive Law Group. Frank Jablonski and Dana Lamond will be representing N4 and Neighbors for Neighbors in the proceeding.
Okay, great. And I did see that notice that you sent in. I don't think I have the list updated yet, which is surprising to me. I don't know if maybe the list that I'm showing you here is old, but I'll get that into the list ASAP. Okay, that's for Neighbors for Neighbors. So we also have Public Service Commission, who's representing staff.
Attorney Evan White's on behalf of the Public Service Commission of Wisconsin. Good afternoon, everyone.
All right, thank you. And Robert and Mary Schmidt. Do we have you on the line?
Mr. Schmidt, you're on mute.
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
I could see his lips moving, but I couldn't hear him.
I think if I find him, I can unmute him. There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, this is Bob Schmidt or Robert Schmidt. Just shows Bob on the Zoom video. And Mary won't be joining. That's my spouse. She had a commitment at the local library for a program. So I will be here for Robert and Mary Schmidt.
Okay, great. Thanks. And I got your address and email addresses correct?
Oh, that is a good address, but there is not a box there on the rural. It's been knocked down several times. The mailing address is what's titled to the properties, which is 13880 West Wilbur Drive, New Berlin, Wisconsin, 53151.
Okay, well, did you get that, Debbie?
Yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
13880 W for West, Wilbur Drive, WILBUR Drive, New Berlin, Wisconsin, 53151.
Okay. And the email is correct.
The email is correct.
Okay, great. Okay, and our last party who's filed for intervention at the moment is Thomas J. Kestel. Are you connected with us today? Anyone for the Kestels? I think they. Oh, yeah, I see Tom there. I'm going to unmute you.
Yeah, this is Chris Estelle or whatever. Tom's traveling today. He was going to try to call in. He's my father.
Okay,
Okay, so he was going to try to call into the Zoom meeting. I'm not sure. He's not real technical savvy.
all right, there are two phone lines connected at the moment, like, we can go off the record for this, but, so there's one that ends in 623 and another that ends in 258. Do those sound familiar?
Check.
Oh, people still keep joining us too, so let's see.
6830, you said, or no?
No,
Okay.
no, 623 and 258. 623 258. Okay, like just somebody listening in. Okay. All right, well, can you so we're here, we're gonna be let's go on the record there. So is there someone who can speak for the Kestels today?
I can speak for Tom.
Okay, can you just give us your name, please?
My name is Chris Castell.
Okay, so you said Tom was your father, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. Do you know if that email address we have listed on the screen share is that one that he can
That
receive?
is a good email address.
Okay, perfect. All right, great. All right, so those are all the people we have who've either the applicants applied for the project or have requested intervention. There were no objections to that intervention. I'm curious, we do have quite a few people connected as well. So I'm not sure if they're members of N for N or if they're people who also wish to intervene. I'm going to ask Attorney Jablonski if you can help us out just to parse that out a bit, if you know.
Yeah, Mr. Castell might be better at parsing that out. I don't know all the names of all the members, but I believe he does.
There is quite a few N for N members, as well as some other public interest groups joining today. People that want to support N for N.
Okay. All right. Well, let me ask then if so Chris Castell is the, I guess, main contact for Neighbors for Neighbors. And is that a separate, are the interests of Neighbors for Neighbors different than Thomas Castell, or are they? I'm just not
Thomas
sure
Castell
why.
just has some personal insights or whatever that are a little bit different than the groups or whatever, but
Okay.
very similar.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that they overlap, but they're not coterminous.
Okay. Okay, well, and I guess looking back, there were no objections to that intervention for both requesters. To the extent that we can avoid duplication in the presentation of the intervener's presentation of their case, Neighbors for Neighbors and Tom Castell, we would be looking to make sure the two groups can coordinate if possible, so there's no duplication. But if the interests are different, I can accept that as being separate interventions. And Thomas Castell is appearing pro se, no attorney representing.
Correct.
Okay. All right. So before we move on further though, I just wondered, is anyone else in attendance separate from a person who's wished to intervene separately from Neighbors for Neighbors? Or you're just listening in? Okay,
Good
so
afternoon. My name is Alan Wirtz. I'm the president of Lakeshore Trout Unlimited. I'm on the call in support of the Neighbors for Neighbors and wanted to just introduce myself and let you know that we're in support of the intervention.
okay, yeah, thanks. Not quite what I was asking for. Does anyone else wish to intervene who's in attendance? Who hasn't done so yet? Okay, so So I can grant the interventions that are currently before us, Neighbors for Neighbors, and Robert and Mary Schmidt, and as well as Thomas J. Castell. I guess I think there was maybe I was confused by but maybe it was the intervention of the Schmidts. For some reason I didn't perceive them as being intervening together necessarily, so I actually created separate entries on the service list for each one.
It's combined.
It's combined. Yeah, I think we can probably change that so we can take off the second entry. That if you're going to be filing and representing yourselves together, I would say that for everyone involved, we would like to, if people are filing testimony, and we can review this in a few minutes, they're here, but most of our testimony is accepted in writing. But we try to avoid having joint testimony filed where two people are kind of presenting together. So we would like to receive everyone's testimony separately in an individual basis. So if Robert, you have something to say, and if Mary has something to say, you would want to file as two separate witnesses. And we can review that as we get into the details, but just wanted to let everyone know that. Oh, we have a bunch more people joining us by phone, so let's let them in. So now that we have our parties identified, that's one of our main jobs to do at the pre-hearing. So you'll see on the notice of pre-hearing conference, sort of like a draft of what I will issue after the pre-hearing conference. I'll issue an order that codifies everything we do here today. It'll look a lot like this notice. It'll just be drafted as a memorandum, a pre-hearing conference memorandum. And so the first thing is that the parties we've identified are listed here. There's also what I'm calling the party identifier for use in filings. You'll see it's little acronyms for each party. So you want to use those when you put in your testimony. That's how you want to name your files when you file an IRF, and also how you create the page numbers. That'll be part of your page number convention. And all of that's described in the last pages of this document, the facilitating matters order. Just to review that quickly. So the other issues or other things we tackle at a pre-hearing conference is the issues and the schedule. So people, if you receive this draft, the notice pre-hearing conference, you'd see the issue. It's fairly simple. It's a standard language we use for CPCNs because it pretty much encapsulates everything that could come up, basically not excluding anything that the commission can legally review in a CPCN case. So I wondered if people have any comments, concerns about that issue, but it's intended to basically allow into evidence all the legally allowed information that we can accept. So anyone wish to, so let me say, first of all, that, so at this point, I'll expect that Attorney Jablonski will be speaking for Neighbors, and then the other parties as they're named, as well as Thomas Kestel's representative here. So among you, the people connected that I've just identified, do you have any comments about the issue?
Your Honor, we have one comment, which is that in connection with the projected meet and confer, I'd sent out an email indicating that we have an overarching motion that we anticipate filing either probably later today or on Monday, that I don't know if it exactly fits in here. It raises a constitutional issue, and it raises the issue, the sort of the segmentation issue between this and the substation. So we're going to be filing that and arguing that. These statutes are so broad, I'm sure I can find a justification under one of these statutes for that. But if I can, I'm still going to file the motion.
Okay. So just to give me a little background though, so the constitutional issue, I think we can set aside because I won't be deciding, the basis of moving forward based on constitutional grounds. That'll be something you'll need to present to the commission. But the substation issue, can you just briefly tell me what you're intending to argue there?
Sure. So as we've been reviewing the file, it appears that the creation of the substation in a separate proceeding sort of prejudices the outcome of this. Well, it does prejudice the outcome of this proceeding in terms of yes, no, build a transmission line or don't build a transmission line. Because if you don't build some transmission line, that substation is pretty much a bunch of expensive electrical infrastructure sitting in a field. So we believe that these things should have been considered together. I understand from Ms. Westerberg, who is dealing with the substation, that there is a pending motion to try to reopen the substation issue. So we're trying to figure out, we think that these things should have been considered together, and we're not sure why they're not. And we would, so we're going to be saying that the right way for the commission to proceed is to essentially suspend this, grant the petition to reopen in the substation case, and then reconsider these things together so that the full panoply of alternatives can be presented in an organized way. Since from our perspective, these are utterly interdependent.
Can you give me the docket number of the substation case?
Your Honor, I believe it's 4740 CE 106.
That's correct, Your Honor.
So Attorney White's, is that just for my understanding, is that a CA case or a CPC?
Correct. And just in brief response to Attorney Jablonski, it seems that these issues are something, I mean, we're not going to get into arguing the merits of this claim today. I think it's a little bit outside of the question of the issue scope for this particular docket, because it seems to me from the kind of brief representation given by Attorney Jablonski that this is a completely separate request for some sort of relief that they intend to make. So it seems that that's something to be addressed once that motion's filed and all the parties have an opportunity to see it and see exactly what the legal claim is.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So I'll just advise, for what it's worth, to address your motions to the commission, not to me, because of the intertwined nature of this case, this proceeding, which, I do have some initial authority under proceedings, but for investigations, it's really not my wheelhouse. So because we're, you're going to be intertwining how you claim these cases are connected, and what to do about that, I would advance your motions to the commission directly, and they can, once they decide that, they can direct me to take action on the schedule, on changing the schedule of the issues if need be. But in lieu of that, for now, I think we're going to move forward with this pre-hearing conference and setting up, at least we will have for preliminary issues and schedule, and we'll run this case until I am told by the commission to stop doing so, if they take your motion and agree with you. So given that, let's just review again for the issue itself. So given that ruling, that advice, it's not really a ruling, there's not much before me at this point, but given where we stand now and the status of this proceeding, any comments on the existing proposed issue?
None from ATC, Judge.
Okay. And I think I heard acquiescence, at least from Attorney Jablonski, that he could work with those issues. And I agree. I believe that's the case. So, in terms of the proposed schedule, again, until the commission tells me to change the nature of this proceeding, to change the scope and direction, and timing of what we need to do here. Is there any comment on the proposed schedule?
None from ATC, Judge. We're good with the proposed schedule.
Okay.
We have no, on behalf of N4N, we have no particular reason to, it would be nice if it was later, but it's always nice if things are later.
Yeah, I get it. Okay. And just in terms of schedule as well, let me just poll the rest of the parties. So for the Schmidts and Kestels, any comments on the schedule?
Well, from Robert and Mary Schmidt, no concerns with the schedule. We're okay with it.
Okay.
No concerns from Tom either as well.
Okay, thanks. I just wanted to mention the way it's structured at this point, that the applicant presents its case, then we have interveners and commission staff, again, as the second round of direct. And just so you understand, with direct, it's your main case, the issues you want to raise, the evidence you want to present will go into direct. And as we move to different rounds of testimony, rebuttal, and then surrebuttal, you're looking at your presentation really should be tied to the other party's direct when you're rebutting. So you would say something like, the applicant said this and it's direct, but I think that. So you really shouldn't be raising new issues in rebuttal, unless you can tie it directly to what was presented in the previous round. And the same thing goes for a surrebuttal. However, one thing to consider, in some cases, we have direct with the applicant and also interveners that generally support the project. And then the second round is interveners that generally oppose the project and commission staff. I don't have it listed this way. I kind of assume that all the interveners had some general opposition to the project, but I just wanted to check if that's true, make sure I'm not misunderstanding where parties stand on this. So if I can just get a brief explanation what the position of each party is at this point. I'd just like to ask, so start with Neighbors for Neighbors, any general description of your stance on the application. Can you give that to us as you sit here today?
Sure. Beyond our motion, we're in opposition to the project, certainly as proposed. We're opposed to the project. We'd like the whole thing to be reconsidered. And we are opposed to both the preferred and alternate routes as designated by the applicant. And think that there are other, if this project were to be constructed, it should be constructed differently, less expensively and less impactfully.
Okay. And in terms of need for the project, do you have an argument against that?
Yes, but that's intertwined with my general motion, which is
okay.
That's our issue. Is now you've authorized a substation. You know what it is.
Okay, I see. All right. How about the Schmidts? Can you give us just a general idea?
Similar outlook to N4N. We're have issues with the routes, the viability, environmental impact, the situation with the need for the substation, cart before the horse, or horse before the cart issue. So we're kind of in line with N4N, and have issues too with some of the data that was presented by ETC. I think I mentioned to Evan Whites that there was some errors in some of the documents, spreadsheets, Excel sheets for charting buildings, residences, and other items along the routes. So that's our stand.
Okay. Are you concerned about any particular property and how it's impacted by the line?
Well, we do have a property that's significant, and it's on the alternate north route. And that's a big crux of where we were reviewing the ATC document, table 5 for residences, and they actually show 0 residences along segments A, B, and C. And, you know, driving that route, there's 16 that are fairly close. Some are right under the easements, and it shows 0. So I think there's some errors there. And that's apart from opposing the routes, both routes in the first
Okay,
place.
great, I understand now. Okay. And Tom Ketzel's a representative. You have to give me your name again, I'm sorry. But if you have anything to add, do you know
Yeah.
what the particular concerns are from the Ketzels?
Yes, we feel that ATC has done some poor planning. The data that they submitted is a lot of incorrect data. It was addressed with ATC earlier. They didn't choose to amend any of the information they presented. With the routes as well, we don't think the planning was done. Not having considered any of the people's and the environmental impacts and the impacts to the environment, as well as the people's houses and property values, and co-locating these lines so close to people's residence in the fall zones are a pretty big concern for us as well.
Okay, thanks. And sorry, I could probably consolidated these questions better, but just also curious who plans to call expert witnesses. We'll just start with N for N on that note.
We don't know whether we'll call an expert witness. We're looking for an expert witness right now.
Okay. How about the Schmidts? Any expert witnesses you plan?
We don't have any in mind at this point, but we would give pre-notification well before, if that's the case.
And the Ketzels?
We're looking for expert witnesses as well.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I didn't hear.
We're looking for an expert
Okay.
witness as well.
Okay, all right, just wanted to check in with that. Okay, great. So the schedule's approved. Like we had coalesced on that. The other real, sticking point, and one of the main reasons why we do a pre-hearing conference when there's new people that haven't been involved in commission cases before, is that our process is fairly unique in that the testimony, like I said before, gets submitted in writing. Testimony and exhibits are submitted in writing before the hearing. In those 3 rounds of testimony, we do our best. We try to conform those filings to a standard in terms of how we name them, how they're presented, format, and filing, service on other parties and staff. All of the details on how we operate the hearing are in this document attached, and this will be attached to the pre-hearing conference memo that comes out next. So it's giving you a lot of details, but it is kind of the crux of how we get this done in an efficient, timely way. So there's a lot of details in here. I'm open to discussing those with people if there's some confusion about them or people needing more information. We could probably do some of this off the record, so we're not burdening the court reporter so much. But basically, this is your touchstone for whenever you're filing something, you want to get to this document and see if it works. I'm sorry?
Are you off? Are you off, or you were just making a statement?
Oh, no, we're not off yet. I was just,
Okay.
oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
So just to recap, so this is the document, the Facilitating Matters Order. That'll be your guide for filing for all your interactions between the staff and the other parties. And the one big thing to recognize, if you have a question before you file something or before you take an action, you can contact the staff attorney who's assigned to the case, and this one is Evan White's. So you can ask the attorney for what, if you're confused by what this says, need some direction. He's your first point of contact. So rather you get clarification before you make a mistake. We'd like to see that. The big consequence of misfiling something, filing something outside of the proper format is you'll need to refile. And that doesn't sound so onerous, but it does get very complicated once we get rolling with the case. So you want to try to do your best to conform to all these specifics. So if you had a chance to review any of this, do people have questions? Anything that came to the fore when you're looking at this before? You had a chance to do that yet?
Judge,
Yeah.
I just had one question on the application exhibit that we're,
I can't see who's speaking. I'm sorry.
sorry, David Zappo.
Oh, okay. Your box didn't light up. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, that's okay. That's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, just on the application exhibit, I just wanted to confirm that sort of the format for that hasn't changed relative to what it's just the, the name and the IRF numbers in a table, just as usual.
Yes, that's
Okay.
usually how it works. Yep. You want to make sure that we can that the links will work on the confidential versions. So in order for you to be able to do that, it's recommended that you give a draft to staff to review, and they can test those links out within our system internally. So those links won't work for the public, but they'll work inside the staff's the commission's system. But yeah, it's the same presentation, the application in chief, and then all the appendices put in a table format with the live links so that commissioners can easily get a hold of those documents when they're reviewing the record.
Your Honor, if I could just ask one additional question about the application exhibit. I think it's under subsection 4. Might help if we go there.
Do you have a page number?
I don't. It's under 4 is exhibits, and then it's the specific section devoted to the application. Let's see. Keep going. I think there's a.
So there's the citing to the application, and there's the filing the application.
Yeah.
Might be page 10.
There we go. It's number 11.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the actual process, right? That's what we were talking about. So go ahead. What's your question?
So my question is, so sub C, am I correct that contemplates when the applicant is to get the draft exhibit to staff for review and not contemplating that the draft is filed on IRF?
Yes, filing. The draft isn't filed on IRF. So yeah, you're right. It's the filing the draft to staff. Keep providing the draft to staff. Yes, and then filing the version D is actually getting it onto IRF.
Exactly. Okay. Just wanted to clarify because I know there was some confusion in past dockets with the use of the word file. So.
Okay. Yep. I see why that could happen. So got it. Yes. All right.
Thank you.
Any other particular questions about all these details? Maybe I can help clarify now.
Yes. This is Frank Jablonski. I have a question. We or an expert that we secure may well want to access the confidential components of filed documents. Is that addressed in this document?
So
to do?
Yes. The typical process is that you would engage with ATC and engage in a non-disclosure agreement. And so it's usually handled between the parties. If there's a disagreement or if an agreement can't be reached, then I can be engaged to create that agreement, create that circumstance by which the party can obtain information. But on the initial aspect of this would be that parties work out a non-disclosure agreement. I believe.
That's sufficient. We've done that before.
Yeah, so
I just haven't done it for a long time.
Right. It's pretty much, we haven't changed that process. So if you're familiar with it, yeah, you'd want to engage with ATC there's been a few circumstances that parties have not come to an agreement, and I've had to intervene, but I don't believe, I'm assuming there's not going to be that issue in this case. So just keep me posted. There's no particular motion for that. We may be able to deal with that more informally. If it's necessary to file something, we can also take it as a request for ALJ order and follow through with that process. But it's important when it comes to discovery and sharing documents that we work as quickly as possible. That's contemplated in the discovery section, that we use best efforts to respond to discovery. But I think it's probably, instead of going through all the details, it's best to say, review that and then get to Attorney White's if you have any questions about the ins and outs of that process. Anything else? No, one person's sitting out in the waiting room. So seems to be quite a bit of interest in this case. So I think one thing I want to note is that although we have the party session for the hearing is set, we do have an opportunity to either hold that session over Zoom only, or we could have the session in person in Madison and also on Zoom. I don't know if parties have a preference. I'm willing to hear anyone's comments on that, if they prefer one way or another. Anyone have something to say about the location of the party session?
We're fine either way. Frank Jablonski speaking.
Yes, thanks.
Yeah, Judge, for ATC, I think, yeah, we don't have a preference either.
Okay. And the other interveners?
Yeah, for Robert and Mary Schmidt, it's fine either way for us.
Okay. Okay. So we'll hold the party session on Zoom only. The public sessions to be determined, that'll be in the location of the project. So we will hold that we'll hold that on Zoom and also in the location of the project. It's to be determined because I need to find a facility and get a date so that we can schedule that up. But it will be, close to the time frame of the party session. You have to work that within a number of other hearings occurring at the time. But we do plan to hold the public session in the location of the project. So anything else? Any other questions, comments about the process?
Yeah, yes, sir. This is Frank
Yes.
Jablonski. I have a question about, I can't remember how we've handled cross-examination exhibits. The last case that I did was entirely over Zoom.
Mhm.
Is that covered in the facilitating matters order?
It is. There's
Okay.
the appendix or the addendum, which is at the back, which deals with the Zoom process. Yes, there we go. So that's attached here. And there is a provision where we'd want to get any documents not filed according to the schedule. Should be filed within 24 hours before, at least 24 hours before the hearing. So they would be emailed, services by email. So they'd be emailed to the parties and staff, and also myself, if you wouldn't mind. And I'll have a record of it too. And we can then we'll have that in our inboxes at least before the hearing. So that would be so any hearing that involves Zoom would have that as a requirement. So that's your timing for cross-examination exhibits.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm not showing the actual page that's on. Just it's another page here, probably preparing, I think. Okay, anything else? All right, well, thanks everyone for attending. We will see you all on August 20th, and Take care until then. Just let us know if you have any questions or need any clarification of the process until then. Thanks very much, everyone. We're adjourned.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Judge.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you.